Alrighty, Nacarelli here with part 2 of buying your first gun. In part 1 we covered picking your gun, a couple things you need to know about, and establishing your budget. So now you paid the bill. They put everything together for you and you go home. Now I said this two-part video was mostly designed for those who are probably not ultimately familiar with firearms and are getting their first taste of it by purchasing a pistol. Now, whether you intend to go shoot this, which inevitably you will, you can tell yourself whatever you want. I'm just going to get it. I'm just going to leave it in a safe, whatever. You're going to want to shoot it. So we bought all of our stuff to be able to shoot it in the first video. But now you get home. This is where the tension starts for a lot of people. This is probably, and I remember back to when I first bought a gun, it was so exciting and it was so nerve-wracking. It's a big decision and it's a big deal. So I will say that you're going to get comfortable over time. Okay? You're going to have apprehension right out of the gate. So when you get home, understand your pistol or your revolver or whatever. The best way to understand it is you open up your box, and all guns come with an instruction manual. Read the instruction manual. This again is targeted for people who are new. So read your instruction manual. It has great information. It's going to reinforce safety. It's going to talk about what the different components of the gun are. It's going to tell you how to load and unload your gun, if it comes with any neat features, how those work. Filling the magazines up. How to align your sights. I mean, you could basically never have shot a gun before, and most manuals are going to explain a lot to you. Most importantly, it's going to tell you how you disassemble your firearm. Disassembly. And you might be saying, what do I got to disassemble my gun for? Well, a major part of gun ownership, aside from safety and being able to competently shoot the damn thing, is you got to learn how to clean your gun and take it apart. I'm sorry, but if you think you're going to buy a gun and never have to disassemble it, you are sorely mistaken. So just get that in your head now, that you're going to have to get familiar with how to disassemble your firearm. And for most of us out there, it's fun. We love taking our guns apart. We love cleaning them. We love everything. It's not a daunting task, right? So when you get home and you open up your case, you've read the instruction manual, or you've got it out here with on the side of the table, and you say, I'm gonna read it. Well, the first thing I think any of us recommend is, before you clean the gun, before you load ammunition up in it and put it away in a safe for the rest of your life, or take it to the range for the first time later that day, you're gonna clean it. You have to clean it, because the reason is, you like that English? Because the reason is, when these guns ship and they sit in cases, they ship with a little over-application of grease and preservative and everything else, because they don't know if the gun's going to sit there for a while or not, and they've got to make sure it's not going to rot and stuff. So they really lube and grease and gunk up these guns. And you'll notice that whenever you're playing with a gun in the case, how greasy they are. I mean, you can see it on the back here a little bit, even just sitting in the box for 40 seconds, it's all greasy. So aside from, I can't go through safety now. Like, you have to spend a lot of time on general gun safety, but the easiest way is just to keep your finger away from the trigger. But you're going to want to disassemble and clean your gun. Well, you bought cleaning supplies. You've learned how to disassemble your firearm. Okay? You've taken it all apart. You've cleaned it. Right? You've had fun cleaning the gun. You've gotten it back together. Now it's clean. Now, this is where the road diverges. Some of you will take your gun and put it away and never to take it out again. Others are going to play with this thing all day long, put it away, tell yourself you're going to be a good gun owner, responsible, take it out when no one's looking, fondle it, oogle at it, and take it to the range and shoot it, and start making YouTube videos and everything else. So, whichever route you go, now you need to load your magazines up, because you're either going to want to at least have a magazine in your table, your nightstand, or your gun safe or whatever. You're going to have a loaded magazine. Because guess what? If you ever need this, if you buy a gun telling yourself, I'm buying this for self-defense, and you never load a magazine, and you have this laying around with a box of ammo in some other room, you might as well just buy a baseball bat. Okay? So you're going to want to load your magazines up, understand the capacity, and they always say it on there. This has 13 rounds, so count. You put 13 in there. And you can put this in your gun safe just like this. And if you ever need it, take the gun, take the magazine, put it in there, and charge it. If that's the level of comfort you have, you wanted to protect your family, then that's probably good enough. You're probably going to be nervous just having this magazine loaded and near the gun at first. But keep these together in a safe place. You have to know your situation. If you have kids, if you've got guests coming over, invest in a small gun safe. Or put it somewhere where you take time and figure out your situation. But you don't want to separate the lock from the key. You don't want to say, oh, I'm going to put this somewhere in the garage. I'm going to leave this up in our room. Unless like The Walking Dead is breaking out, that's going to be useless to you. Keep these together. Keep them somewhere safe. And that way when you need them, you have it. Hopefully you never need it. Now, a lot of us, as you get more comfortable and familiar, we take our magazines, we load them into our pistols. Okay? Sometimes we'll even have them charged, okay, in a safe or in a box or something. It's clear. I'll put the empty mag in. But just get your system down so you know what you're doing. So you've got it put away. You've got your safe. You know where it is. And that can be it for most of you. Never touching it, never worrying about it. But the other half of you are going to want to go shoot it. And for those who want to go shoot it, if you followed the steps in the first video, then you should have everything you need to be able to go shoot it. Okay? When you go shooting at the range, you're not going to just walk into the range with this gun. That'll be the end of your life. You're going to want to, and this might be just stupid discussion points, but you're going to want to put it back in your box, unloaded. Okay? You can even take the magazine out. Put it back in your box. Put your box in your bag. We showed from the first video. Put your ammo in the bag. Make sure you have your eyes, your ears, everything. And walk it to the gun store with you, or put it in your trunk or whatever. Follow your laws on how you're legally allowed to transport things. And then when you get to the gun store, depending on the range you go to, they'll ask, what are you shooting today? Have you shot before? They're going to ask you questions. Be honest. If you're really nervous about shooting the gun, then take a class. I wouldn't set up empty beer bottles in your backyard and try and smash them. That's probably a bad way to go. Just tell the guy you're new shooting. He can come out with you maybe. Call a friend who's been shooting before. It's a nerve-wracking time in everyone's life when you buy your first gun. A lot of us gun guys wish we could go back to that feeling, the awe-inspiringness of having a firearm and everything. And a lot of us try to recapture that by buying, just non-stop buying, selling, trading, trying to recapture that experience like a addiction or a drug even. Then you can get into more advanced things like getting your holsters, figuring out, which gun you really like. Do you need another gun for carrying purposes? Do you want your wife to have a gun, or your husband, or your partner? Are you going to take them shooting with you? Do you want them? I think that's even, another direction that I would like to take my recommendations are, if you do live with somebody else, don't hide the fact that you have a gun from them, unless it's, you're a single father with a 17-year-old kid who's an asshole. That's not me. And I'm sorry if I offended anyone who has that situation, but if, like, you're me and you're married and your wife is not an appreciator of firearms, well, I've driven her to the range like 3 times in my entire 10 years of shooting, and she doesn't like it. She still hates it. But I make it a point to at least explain to her where the gun is and how to use it, and I've made her go to the range. And trust me, there's been times where I've called her and she's said, oh, I've taken the gun out because I thought someone was coming in or at the back door or whatever. If your guns have safeties on them, if your guns are striker fired and don't have any safeties and you keep the round loaded in the chamber, whatever condition of firearm you buy, and you have to figure that out yourself. Don't let hype and media, and gun guys talk you into it. If you're apprehensive about buying a handgun, buy one with a safety. If your friends say, oh, Glock, that's all you ever need, I always recommend against Glock for someone's first firearm. They're easy. I understand they're easy to use, but I find that it's more of an advanced type of gun, because I think to effectively keep it somewhere, there's a lot of cause that can just be problematic. With a gun with a safety, you can at least manually inspect that the safety is engaged, and you can check it from there. It's just my inherentness of being more cautionary than not, but I always recommend for a first gun for a lot of people, and this probably make a lot of people laugh, but I recommend the Beretta 92 because it's for 2 reasons. One is I think it's inherently safe with the double action, single action trigger design and the manual safeties. I think it's a great firearm in that regard. I also think it's a complex firearm, which will help people really understand firearms. When I first got into shooting, I had a Beretta 92 FS, learned the shit out of it, then started to appreciate guns, then got into Glock, which is the exact opposite. Glock is completely minimalist, and all the safety, not the manual safety, but all the safety lessons that us as gun guys live and breathe will transfer to a gun like a Glock or like an HK VP40 that was used in our demonstration, or other striker fire type of pistols. But to go straight into that world, I think, is a little bit problematic. You need to get familiar with the most complex type of pistol, and then you can kind of scale back because you'll develop your safety habits. If you have a gun in the house and you got a little extra room in your budget, I highly recommend, if you haven't done so before, to take an NRA basic pistol course. You, and if you're married, your spouse, go take it. Learn the workings of your firearm. Get good, adequate instruction. Get range experience with an instructor. It'll take the apprehension out, and then have fun and a lifetime of good shooting. The next step in this whole process would be going to the gun range for the first time. And I have a video series, a 3-part series on that, talking about gun range etiquette, talking about getting your sights aligned, talking about how to use the mechanisms and the targets. So I would check that out as well. It's a logical step from here. But congratulations if you are buying a pistol or a gun for the first time. I understand you're probably very nervous, so please, before you do anything, understand the safety rules. Keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot. Always treat the gun as if it's loaded. Don't ever point it at anything you don't intend to destroy. Those are the 3, I think, inherent safety rules that all of us follow. The biggest one is keeping your finger away from the trigger, even if you don't think you even own ammunition. It's the best habit you can develop. Okay? Thanks. This was more of a video for those who are new to firearms. New Shooter Series Part 2. Buying your first handgun. Good luck, guys. Nacarelli out.